So welcome to the Sid City Social Club for Tuesday, October 27th. We're glad you're here. I'm sorry, my cat is getting into some stuff over to my side, but I think she's going to be all right. I might disappear for a second to get her out of there. And with that, I will throw it over to Sid.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy Tuesday? I don't know how I can keep track. All good, all good. There's looking forward to Friday, and it's going to be quite it's going to be, the participation is going to be quite shared. You know, you're absolutely welcome to sit out and listen as usual, or just, you know, have everything happening in the background. But if you like the idea of participating, you will be given the opportunity. We're going to share all the hosting duties and pass off, and some people are going to talk to other people, and well, it's a really nice, fun mess, I hope. I did think of a theme for today, and maybe forever, but it's a good enough theme to start with, and that is love. What does it mean to you? What is love? How does that hit you? Where did that crunch you? When did you? It could be objectified. It could be for a person. It could be for literature. I mean, it could wherever that really gets you. I'm really interested in love. It's one of the most underappreciated words in the language. We use it a great deal, but we don't talk about it very often. So anyway, I thought if you feel like that, I might walk you into one of those doors. And other than that, let's get going.
What is love? I saw the chat just immediately. A whole bunch of people say, "Baby, don't hurt me." Oh my gosh. Well, that's exactly what came to my mind too. So first, we have a birthday.
We have
Irena.
Hello.
Irena. Happy birthday. Look how fantastic you look. Oh, wow. You look amazing. It's like a trompe-l'oeil, isn't it? You've got it all. It's all beautifully done. Wow. It's just beautiful. You look beautiful. Could everybody go off mic so that we could say mute, so that we could say happy birthday to Irena?
Happy birthday, Irena.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
How's Edinburgh? You've moved to Edinburgh.
Yes, it's lovely. I love it so far, but I've been back to Croatia past week, and I have to self-isolate again for 2 weeks.
Well, it's all closing down in Edinburgh, in Scotland and England. It's all getting a bit hairy, isn't it?
I doubt it's as hairy as Croatia's about to get, because we've had a spike in cases just when I was leaving, so I was a bit scared.
Your family okay?
They seem to be okay, yeah. As far as I see, so they are fine, but people I know have it, and I'm just scared for my parents because they're
of course, it's going to be
almost 70 years old.
Of course, that's not very old, by the way. You say it like they're 70 years old.
No, it's not bad. Like, I don't think they're old, but they're not in perfect health. So I'm scared for them.
Absolutely.
They both had really bad falls last year. My dad broke his hip and my mom broke her ankle.
Okay, so they're into that.
Yeah, kind of not in perfect shape. I'm just hoping they don't get it. So
well, hopefully they know what to do. How is your move to Edinburgh? I know have you found an apartment?
Yeah, we found an apartment and moved in, and we're slowly fixing the place up because they told us they would have a handyman coming over to fix 100 petty grievances, like wobbly door knobs, missing knobs, things, little things, little things, but things that, you see every day and they annoy you.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you guys handy? Are you handy with your tools? Are you good at fixing stuff?
So far, we have fixed a lot of things ourselves because the handyman doesn't seem interested in answering his phone.
We don't like them. We had a bunch of mice here where there was a hole at the bottom of one of the kitchen counters cabinets. And I found one mouse and was like, whoa, mouse. And it's weird seeing them because they're like ghosts. They travel, they float. They don't seem to run. I don't get a sense of them running. They just sort of float quickly around.
You just hear them in the walls.
They're just so, yeah. So we found this thing, this orange like igloo that's especially for catching mice that they don't die. And then I took one of the mice away about 1.5 miles away and let it out. And I know it was the same mouse that came back. I was told that you'd have to take them over 3 miles away because they have some pheromonal way of getting back. I have no idea how they do that. Yeah. They were in my car. So we now have established a community of about 8 mice over 3 miles away at the edge of a forest. So I'm sure they're all doing just fine. So Edinburgh is friendly and a happy place for you right now? Yes. I mean, obviously COVID is COVID.
Yeah, I mean, COVID is everywhere. Can't really escape it. But like the rest of it is wonderful. I love it.
It's a beautiful city.
Yeah, I love it. I even love the weather, even though everybody hates the weather. But I'm like, finally, the sun doesn't burn my eyes.
Because you're a vampire.
I can live in an overcast city. I love it. I don't have to shade my eyes all the time. I feel like I'm blinded and dying.
It's an amazing, beautiful city. I mean, it's got the color is that really dark, vibrant gray, and it's all that local stone is beautiful. And then, of course, the festival comes once a year, but not during COVID, and then the whole place just goes crazy.
But yeah, we've had some mishaps while trying to fix up the place. So anybody who doesn't know what a bayonet bulb is, please raise their hands in the chat. So we didn't know that was a thing.
Welcome to the UK.
Somebody had warned me. So we were like, okay, we need new bulbs.
I mean, the good news is that I think the LED technology that for bulbs is now really good.
They're good. We bought LEDs.
Yeah, it's much cheaper. It's expensive up front, but it's cheap later.
Yeah,
it's a really smart way. We've got LEDs everywhere. Just everything got taken out, and all these 100-watt bulbs out of here. How is your husband doing?
He is doing fine. I'm looking at him right now. He's
settling in his new job.
Yeah, he's settled in fine. They're still working remotely, so that's good. And he's actually on leave this week.
Right.
So I get to have a week of my husband not stuck in his computer the entire day. So good for me.
Did he help you with this Cardassian?
No, I did that all by myself.
Oh my goodness, you do that in a mirror. That's so hard to do.
I have makeup brushes and I just have like different sized brushes for different things. And
it looks so good. I mean, it really does look like you've got prosthetic on, a prosthesis.
But I don't. It's just paper.
No, it's fantastic. Really clever.
It took me 3 hours.
Well, it's worth every minute. It looks terrific. Really good. And have you got something you're planning for Friday? Are you going to be here Friday?
Yes, I'm going to be a different costume on Friday. Friday, something less involved. Do 2 things. And wants to be a Cardassian one day and then something else the next. So for Friday, I have a costume for Arwen from Lord of the Rings.
Fantastic. Well, we'll all look forward to it. We don't really know quite how the whole party's going to go, but we're going to start off right. And we're just going to make sure that everybody gets to get involved.
We have so many talented people in the club, and I can't wait to see.
Absolutely right.
I have to say.
Absolutely right.
Lovely.
Well, a huge, lovely, happy birthday to you, Elena. And thank you for making the effort to look so ravishing. That's the wrong word. It's an old-fashioned English word which I can't really use anymore. But my father would have used it, but actually it means something terrible. So, but you know what I mean. You look fantastic. How about that?
I don't mind.
You ever so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Serena. You look amazing. All right, next we're going to Megan.
I've got to say, it's a bit surreal. I only finished watching DS9 a few weeks ago, and then suddenly hearing that this is happening, it's wonderful seeing you.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's lovely to meet you. Where are you, Megan?
I am in Southwest Florida. It's rather warm right now, but no one's really going out.
Yeah, I mean that I guess you at least you get you get the warmth pretty much all year, don't you?
Yes, today it was 90 degrees Fahrenheit, about 32 Celsius.
Gosh, that's really crazy. I mean, it's freezing where I am in Massachusetts. How is life in Southwest Florida? Have you been there all of your life? Are you a recent South Floridian, or what's the deal there?
I would say the majority of my life I've been here, but I've also lived in New York.
And what is significant about Southwest Florida?
I suppose a lot of people would say the beaches. Unfortunately, despite living here, I don't like beaches, so
Oh,
I don't have that going for me.
why don't you like beaches? Is it you don't like the public thing, or you don't like the sand or the wind?
To quote that, I don't like sand. It's coarse and gets everywhere.
Yeah, true that. Absolutely. And how is COVID in your area?
It's people have become more lenient on the rules, which is rather unfortunate, but luckily both my school and my work have been pretty good about the processes. So far we've been good here.
Good, really good. And what tell me about your school. What is that?
I am currently majoring in applied math. I'm actually going to finish with my master's in about 5 weeks' time.
Oh my God, that's fascinating. That's brilliant. I'm a massive math fan, although I'm stupid. I don't know anything about it, but I wish I did. And applied math is that a multidisciplinary element, or is it a very specific thing?
Oh, it's honestly broad strokes. There's not a single mathematician that knows what another mathematician does. It's an incredibly very deep, very tiny puddle that people end up focusing in. But in the program, they kind of just throw a lot of subjects at you like, hey, isn't this cool? Okay, eventually pick something, study that.
So what's your puddle?
When I did my research project, I ended up doing something that used both combinatorics and graph theory. It sounds a lot cooler than it does. I just wanted to find a way of kind of quantifying gerrymandering, kind of simulating it, that kind of thing.
Wow. So is that kind of in that stochastic area? Is that what you're dealing with, like a random craziness, or because
not so much that. I kind of wanted to change it into, okay, instead of just randomly generating a bunch of different ways that like gerrymandered districts could look, how about I map a state to a grid, find the different ways that you could tile that grid, and then kind of reapply it back into there.
Wow, that's really, really cool. I mean, you said it's not as cool as it sounds. It actually sounds way cooler than you're making it out to be, because I know what you're trying to do. You're actually trying to work out a way of making a representative, well, at least a whistleblower. At least someone can go, here's the data behind what's happening, and this is not going to work out, because that's really a valuable tool. And isn't anybody? I'm surprised no one's doing it, or are they doing it sort of from a poor faith point of view?
From what I've seen, there's a professor in Duke that's doing something, but he's using computer generation. I'm just using a different combinatorial grid tiling instead. So the approaches are different, though the outcome is a similar kind of idea.
Wow. And how did you come up with that? How did you get into this particular area? Did someone nudge you, or did you just go?
My research advisor kind of said, hey, these things sound cool. Which ones do you like? And I was like, I guess I'll do that one. So sometimes.
And how long have you been at school? So you must be near the end, and I'm not really familiar with the American system.
I've been at it for a couple of years. Typically, you're on year 5 or 6 at this point, depending on how quick you've been in your previous years.
Yeah. And how did you get into math? What inspired you?
That's actually a good question. My first semester of college, I actually failed my first math class. Wasn't the best at it. It's kind of a weird turnaround that I ended up in it. I feel it's almost, I want to say cultural, that a lot of people aren't into math because when you say you're not good at math, people tend to just say, oh, I don't like it or I'm not good at it. And it kind of reinforces positively that, oh, I guess I'll wash my hands of it. A lot of it does come from constant dedication, kind of cracking at it. Eventually, once you understand those foundations, it suddenly makes a lot more sense.
I'm really excited for you. I think you're going to have I think this very exciting field, and I think you might end up, who knows where you'll end up. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You can really, that's the beginning of a piece of string you pull on, and it can end up taking you in many different places.
It is exciting. I've been looking into different things, both jobs and schools. I have no idea where I'll be next year.
Wow, but that's a nice place to be right now, because you don't need to know. It's no big rush on that, especially while we're not sure about the uncertainty that prevails here, and with regard to this pandemic and when it'll go away and everything. Because all the best laid plans are just going to get washed away like, sand on a beach. To put too fine a point on it. So, are you living alone with your family? Do you
With family.
And how has that been? Because that's been probably longer than anyone anticipated.
We all have different things we're doing. I spend most of the day outside because I'm both going to school and working full time, so that takes up a fair bit of time. But I did manage to drag my siblings into DS9 as well, so they're into it.
And they like it?
Oh yes.
That's really cool. It is kind of surreal, I know, when you kind of have been watching a TV show and then you turn up and you go, oh, that's the actor from that thing. But we all get over that in short order. This is a very kind of casual forum, and there's a lot of splinter groups. So you'll find places where you can hang out with like minds that aren't necessarily exactly alike. That's been the kind of lesson for me here. It's been a real introduction to a whole bunch of people I thought I'd never meet, and certainly I had no opinion of, and now I have quite strong opinions about all of it. When did you first turn up?
This is my 4th time popping up, but so I haven't seen the majority of it.
Yeah, well, it'll become very obvious. It'll become really clear to you. It's like what a lovely group of people there are here. If you were to describe love, what would come into your head? What would be the first thing you'd think of?
I suppose if I was to use a singular word, probably sacrifice, but it's more of not like anything dramatic like that. It's just the willingness to give up parts of your preferences for compromise, willingness to spend time with people when you might have wanted to just spend the night in, generally putting the work and commitment in for love.
Can you remember the first time, I don't have to get really personal here, but can you remember the first time that you felt like your heart skip a beat? And it could be over anything, any age, but you went, oh my goodness, that's a feeling I've not really felt before, but it turns out it might be the beginnings of a kind of something that's associated with love.
I'm not sure. I would have to get back to you on that.
It's a difficult question. I was thinking about it myself when I was thinking about what I was going to do. And I thought, probably the first time was when I got a love note from a little girl. I was probably 11 and she was probably 11 too. And just the flattery confused me. And I was like, but I felt really like excited. I couldn't figure out, and I didn't know why. I was like, well, why am I excited? I think just the intense flattery of being someone's everything, even though you're 11 years old and it's a 24-hour thing. It's nevertheless quite like, whoa, my goodness, the blistering heat of being in the sunlight of this person's attention. But I can imagine that being the case with, I know my first best friend was a dog, for example. I mean, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different things that people might associate with the word. So I was just curious if it just pricked you in any particular way. Well, it's such a lovely pleasure talking to you, Megan, and thank you for introducing yourself to us. I hope you come back again and again and again. And I'd definitely like to talk a bit more about math and specifically your interest.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we've got Zach, who's going to show us something I think that's thematically appropriate.
So in keeping with Halloween, one of my hobbies that I haven't been able to do as much recently, but something that I've been doing through the years, I make leather masks. So this is one of the guys that's...
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness, that's absolutely exquisite.
I only have a few of them here with me. I do have a slideshow that Mel's going to show in a bit of the ones that are at my friend's store or that I've sold over the years. This is kind of my signature piece.
Wow.
This one, it used to be green. I've been wearing it for a few years at shows.
That is such an ancient art form, Zach. I mean, that is really amazing. How did you get into that? How did you find that? How did it find you?
First, I started going to Renaissance fairs. Then I started getting into LARPing and Renaissance communities. And so I needed my own costuming. So I started doing leather work. And after a while, you make a few things of your own and you have a little bit of leather left over. So you start selling stuff. And I eventually started going to shows and there was another leather vendor who was making masks.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to start doing that. So I moved that in with a lot of the leather work I was doing.
Gorgeous, gorgeous work, my friend. And how long would it take you to do a piece like that one you just showed me? Obviously, the one before would be the one before that, your signature piece, very complicated.
This one was actually a very organically made piece. I kind of slapped it onto the mold while it was wet, and then it's a matter of waiting for it to dry just enough to start cutting the eye holes and kind of shaping it a bit. So this one I could probably do in a day. It was kind of a very free-form organic piece. There are some crafts within the field of leatherwork which are very specific. Bridlery is one of those. Shoemaking is one of those. Whip making is one of those. Mask making, it's becoming a little more popular, but that's one of the ones that was a little more, you had to spend a little time studying and practicing first.
Yeah. Do you sew too? Do you sew leather?
Some of the stuff I do, like this one is hand stitched together.
Wow. That's lovely. Wow, yes, I can absolutely see why you sell a lot of this stuff. It's pretty desirable. That's great. Can we see your slideshow? Can we see what that is? Unless I'm jumping the gun.
Go ahead. This was the slideshow for my website, so there's not a lot of music on it because I wanted to keep it simple.
Gosh, they're so beautiful. They're so Venetian. I mean, you're really evoking the masquerade.
Yeah, that's where where I got a lot of the influence for this art form. A lot of these are happening at a festival at Drew University in New Jersey. So.
Wow. Gosh, that's lovely. People just must so enjoy wearing them.
Oh yeah. What's really fun is because I've evolved in my art over the years, I can usually tell when a mask was made according to just the style and how it looked.
Yeah. And you probably need, when you make, if someone wanted something like that made for, I don't know, a wedding or something, because I can see that because it's such a specialist thing and it's probably not super cheap. So I can imagine it being used for something like that. Would they need to send you a mold of their face or dimensions, because everything's so specific to the facial shape, isn't it?
So I'm very lucky in that my face, which is what I use to make the mask molds out of, seems to be pretty universal. I just seem to have the cheek structure and the Meichuk schnoz seems to be really good when it comes to creating a mask that fits.
Yeah.
So I just really lucked out with that, and I was able to create a mask mold that seems to fit universally.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I know that as an actor, I sometimes have things made for me.
Yeah.
I've only ever had one leather piece made for me, which was I don't know how you pronounce this. It's cuirass?
Yeah, it's kind of the leather breastplate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cuirass, it's anyway, but saying terrible things today. It's a thing gladiators wear, and it's got shaped pectorals and all the 12 pack and everything. So you put it on immediately and you're action man. It was Roman, and mine was Carthaginian in particular, for a role I played called Hannibal in a docudrama that I did many moons ago. But they gave me the cuirass afterwards, and it was made exactly the same way they would have made it thousands of years ago. But the work was just amazing, and it's very similar to the leather you're using, because they put your teapot is teleport whatever the word is. Levitating teapot. That's really cool. Oh my goodness, that's really funny.
And this is a traditional Halloween prank.
You know what we used to do at school? I used to tie heavy-duty fishing line. We put all our cases above the beds, on these closets. Bye. It's like bed knobs and broomsticks. We put all our suitcases up above the beds on these closets, and then there were bars across the dormitory. 9 of us slept in there, and we would tell ghost stories to each other and scare the bejesus out of each other. And at a certain point, about 45 minutes after everybody had stopped telling any stories, I would yank on this fishing wire, and all these cases would fly across the room and hit the other wall, especially if you tell poltergeist stories. That scares people more than anything. Poltergeists give people the shivers more than just about anything, I think. That is brilliant. It's still floating around. How did you make that work? Is that your real background?
So what I did last week was, and I was actually building it while you guys were talking last week, because I was trying to attach it. So last week I attached the invisible wire to the pot, and then when the Zoom meeting was over, I just turned on the Zoom again and I recorded it, and I recorded it just floating. I removed the chair, removed everything, and just recorded the background. Waited 3 minutes, started the levitating teapot, and brought it back, and then ended the video. And so,
gosh,
yeah,
brilliant. That's a green screen effect. That is a visual effect, like straight from the movies. It's really brilliantly done. That's really cool. I bet that's given people a lot of ideas and how they can think about that. What does love mean to you?
When you ask that question, I actually had a professor at college who was known as the love doctor. And his whole thing was that psychology was the art of healing through love. And he defined love as feeling, thinking, and acting towards yourself and others in a way that promotes growth.
Lovely. That's really cool. That's a really excellent definition. Do you how are you? We haven't talked for a while. What's going on in your world?
So life is interesting. Been keeping busy. Psychology is one of those fields.
Yeah, I remember you are. Is everything normal, or people's anxieties and issues the same, or do you think COVID has tweaked it?
No, it's definitely, the anxiety has spiked for everybody, and last month hit the 6-month point, and when humans go through a prolonged stress situation, we're used to acute stress. There's a stressful event. We deal with it. We use our coping resources. We get through it, and we crash.
Yeah.
We're not used to doing this for an extended period of time. And what happens when we do that is at the 6-month part, there is a burnout that occurs.
Right.
And probably a lot of people are going to start nodding their heads because they've experienced it, where they just were over it. Anxiety was spiking, depression was spiking, just they were more irritable, more fatigued. That's the burnout. And
Right.
typically it lasts a few weeks. So I've spent the last month just trying to let people know that was normal and kind of let them know we need to just double down on things we've been working on and get through the next couple of weeks and you'll get a second wind.
Yeah. Do you think that's the reason why a lot of people have become catastrophically undisciplined in the last couple of weeks, in the last few weeks?
That's one of the many factors doing it, that when the burnout hit, they were just over it.
Right. So in a kind of heightened sense of denial, that the thing that we can overcome this. I mean, I listen to people on TV, some of them say things like, we're over it, we're done, we've dealt with the whole thing, it's behind us. Someone said November the 4th, no one will be talking about COVID anymore, if I remember rightly. That's a really good theme for one week, is conspiracy theories. I'm not very, what is the word? I don't believe easily. I can't remember the right word. There's a good word in English that I've just completely forgotten right now.
If you do want to have that one, let me know, because I can give a whole 5-minute talk on why people believe it.
Can you please? I'd love that.
Yeah. So when it comes to a lot of moral decision making and a lot of decision making, people will decide emotionally first and rationalize later.
Yeah.
And the conspiracy theories are there because they fill certain emotional needs.
And they always seem to be really craven, really based on something very upsetting. It's not usually something mellow. It's like, the spaghetti grows on trees. That's a nice, easy conspiracy theory, but they tend to be quite dangerous.
So conspiracy theory in a nutshell has to do with personality organization, and the paranoid people, all the badness that they feel, they can't accept, so they reject it as the badness is something outside of them.
Right.
And now to prove that they're good and not bad, they have to fight the badness.
Yeah.
So they're constantly searching for some evil to fight to prove that they're the good guys. And when you look for something like that, you find it.
Oh, well, Zach, thank you very much, my friend, for showing us the masks and letting me blither on for 10 minutes at the end about my own thing, because that's what I do. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Zach. Nicely done. He came to me last week and said, hey, can I play a prank? And I said, why, yes, let's do that. So
it was an excellent prank.
Okay, we're going to go over to Amy G, who is going to talk about something else slightly less scary.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Hi, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Yes, so I am here to talk about open enrollment in the United States for health insurance. This is important. It starts November 1st for the individual health insurance. For anyone who's not covered health insurance through their job specifically. I wanted to start with a disclaimer. I'm not speaking on behalf of my company. This is just general helpful advice.
Yep, we don't know your company. We won't ask, and
Nope.
we will not to account. But
Putting
you're
that out there.
incredibly welcome, because it's a minefield.
Yeah.
And I would love, if I think of anything, I'll stop you if you don't mind.
So open enrollment starts on November 1st at midnight on November 1st. And this is the only time of year will be eligible to enroll in individual health insurance without a qualifying event like loss of coverage or childbirth or something major like that. So it goes until December 15th at 11:59 p.m. There will be no extension. Assume there will be no extensions. Even if the website goes down on the final day, get in as soon as you can.
I love the quack.
Oh, yeah. So the plans that you choose for January 1st, 2021, they are guaranteed through December 31st, 2021. So if, politics happen and the new Supreme Court we have, decides to overturn the ACA, which they've threatened to do, then your plan will still be enforced for another year. So that's definitely something important to consider. This includes like, you know, coverage for pre-existing medical conditions, hormonal birth control, cancer screenings, mental health benefits, like all the things that ACA is made to protect. Your plan will be covered through 2022, no matter what happens with ACA.
So I have a health insurance through my union, and it's just, I never have to deal with it. It's just automatic. Anyway, so I just never looked or tried to shop for health insurance or discussed it with anybody.
Yes.
Is this the health insurance, or is this the tool that helps you find health insurance?
This is for people who don't receive health insurance through their employers or their unions or whatever. It's called individual because you have to seek it out yourself.
Right.
So that's what it is. A lot of companies do renew at this time. I think SAG-AFTRA renews at this time. You should probably look into that.
Yeah.
But this is specifically for people who are buying health insurance on the state and federal exchanges as individuals, not through their employer.
Okay, and can you do it just in case you're concerned about your health insurance not lasting very long? Can you enroll and go, you know what, I don't need it after all, but I had to do it that time, and my regular health insurance is fine, so thanks. I'm not gonna need both of you. Okay.
It's really for people who like either, you know, can't get coverage through their employer, they don't work enough hours, or they don't have an employer who offers health insurance, or like their employer offers health insurance to only the employee and not the employee's family, just stuff like that. It's people previous to ACA, which passed in 2014. We didn't have any other options, so a lot of people didn't have any health insurance. And now that we have this pandemic going on, it's definitely important to have something, because you can't just assume you're going to stay healthy. Like even if you're young and you know, like there used to be this thing where, oh, if you're like a 25-year-old boy, you don't need health insurance because you're just never going to go to the doctor anyway. But now you could get COVID. You could be in the hospital on a ventilator for 6 months.
Absolutely. Can I ask one more silly question, and then I'll let you finish your presentation because I've stopped you. Does COVID count as a pre-existing condition? It's not really a personal condition, but it is a condition of our lives. Is it already pre-existing? Will lots of the insurance things cover COVID-related issues, knowing that we're here with it now?
Currently, yes. We don't know in the future if that will change depending on how long, because insurance companies, if ACA goes away, then insurance companies can change their rules and decide that it is a pre-existing condition and they don't want to cover it anymore because it is expensive. So we don't know, basically, at this point. Currently, no, it is not. If ACA goes away, there is no protection that guarantees that.
I will not interrupt you for at least 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, get it all out now. So, just some other things I want to mention, like 15 states have their own marketplaces. If you go to healthcare.gov, it will redirect you to your state exchange. And I did a special interest discussion back in September for the Discord, and Casey is posting a link in the chat of the video I did. It includes like how US health insurance works for non-Americans and also Obamacare and everything. And also like I included something about tips for choosing your own health insurance plans. So I'm gonna post a link to an abbreviated PDF of that as well in the chat for people to reference, just how to choose a plan based on my like personal recommendations, like what would be the best for you personally based on your needs, and you know, like how often you go to the doctor, whether you have a condition or something that you know you need to go to the doctor frequently. So yeah.
Amy, that's fantastic. That's a really, really lovely thing to be doing for everybody. It's a minefield, and you just.
Rose needs to clarify: people under 26 can stay on their parents' plans. That is something under ACA as well. So if you're in college or a grad student, you can be covered up until 26, as long as your parents want to pay for it. But you don't have to seek out your own insurance if you're under 26, which is also an ACA protection. Without that, then.
How are you?
I'm okay.
You look well.
This is kind of a silly thing. My dog, who was, last time I talked to you, it was her birthday. She had a cyst removed, and I went in for the follow-up, and she has an ear infection and an eye infection. So I now have to be like bombarding her with all this medication. So that's
it's impossible to get that stuff into dogs, especially into the ears. They can't stand it.
My dog, you think I was like murdering her, the way she like flails around like best actress Oscar is coming any minute. She's just so dramatic about it. I'm like, more dramatic than some of your death scenes. Like it's that. But I'll take some videos and post them on the Discord so people can.
Yes. How to torture your dog video.
We did the quiz thing Saturday with Colin.
Yeah, he told me about it. He said it was amazing. You guys went on for ages afterwards.
It's just nice to just have like an outlet for some, like, even with my real life friends, everyone's just talking about like politics and the election. And it's like so nice to just have something else to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just been some like fun stuff. I mean, last week, oh gosh, I'm bringing this up, Casey. Last week, we found your bar rescue appearance, and we went on the Discord and streamed that for some people.
Oh no.
That is really funny.
Oh, yeah, it was just silly, like anything we can do to chat and like, if it's finding weird like appearances of you from reality shows.
And that was weird. That was unusual. There was a point where we had little radio mics in our ears and we were at the table, and there was a kind of camera somewhere that looked like it was voyeuristic and stuff, and we were like trying to be natural, and we sat down and we were supposed to score them out of, I don't know, some give them a score for how well they were doing stuff. And one of the questions was, had to order a drink, and we both ordered a drink, and we gave them the cocktail, which they should know how to make. And I think mine was like I don't know what it was, a comfortable screw against the wall, or one of those silly 70s cocktails that no one orders anymore. And I've got this message through my earphone saying, order a cocktail. We want to find out how they make it. And I'm like, this is a Muslim restaurant. They don't do alcohol. Just order the cocktail. We've got to find out how well. It's like, okay, I'm going to order a cocktail.
Sorry for that total detour from health insurance.
It brought me down memory lane because I completely forgot I'd ever done it, and I am not ashamed that I've done it because I thought it was quite interesting. And I think I've had a varied career, but to have done a reality TV show kind of is important to have knocked that one off and not too offensive. Thanks, Amy, and thanks much more importantly for the good tip about enrolling for health insurance if you're uncertain about your future right away next week.
Yes, I'll be posting a link to like my little tip guide in the chat when this is done.
Thank you.
I just want to say, if anybody does have specific questions, you can hit me up on the Discord. You can like PM me there if you have more specific questions. Just FYI.
Perfect.
And all right, let's go to something more pleasant. We're going to go over to Anne, who we have not seen in months.
Hi, everybody.
And as I live and breathe, how are you?
I'm quite well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Where are you? I can't remember.
Oh, I'm in Florida. Yeah.
Oh,
Florida.
yes.
Naples,
Yeah.
to be specific.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's going on in your world? Because I just see the sun beginning to go down. So it's, unless that's my imagination. It could be a light on the side of a wall. It's a light.
Oh, yeah. No, that's my light. Sun went down.
The sun's long gone.
Yes.
I just realized we're on the same coast.
Yeah.
Even though you have delightful weather.
No, well, actually, I've been missing Massachusetts weather a lot. I've been living in Cambridge for a while, about 4 years, and my friends are now all sending me photos of the fall weather and the leaves changing, and it's my favorite season. So I'm quite missing it. I'm not really built for the hot, humid, muggy weather here.
Remind us why you went to Florida.
For a job, I teach. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Still doing that. The Zoom era was interesting. We were in the midst of that when we last chatted, so all the classes had gone to Zoom.
Yeah, and you teach what age?
So I teach pretty much, so in 8th grade, the kids are around 13 years old. And then I teach 11th and 12th grade, so that's pretty much 16 through 18 or so.
So are they all back at school in Florida?
Yes, they are. In my county, they are. So we started back everybody at school late August. Yeah.
How's that working out? Because all the prevailing wisdom says those children are too old to be going to school yet.
Right. There were a lot of concerns, and we've had a lot of conversations about that at the beginning of the school year. It's been going surprisingly well. We haven't had any issues with it. In the county, we haven't had any issues with it, so we're all still back at school.
Wow.
I mean, we're ending, so Friday ends the first quarter, so I mean, we're a quarter of the way through the school year at this point. Yeah. We're doing okay.
That's great.
So, the concern from the get-go was more sort of for the teachers in the administration, especially the ones who were older or who had any health conditions.
Yeah.
That sort of from the get-go was the issue, where
that makes sense.
Being, transmitted in that way. Or, these kids, we have a lot of parents. We're not that big of a school, but the parents, they all have jobs, they're all exposed to different levels. So that was a little bit of an issue that we were concerned about to begin with. But again, we haven't really had any issues. Parents have been very careful, very considerate, where even if their kids, have a sniffle and don't have a fever or something like that, people are very good about going and getting tested and quarantining. So
that's a really positive, wonderful piece of news in a weird way, because that's one of the things that has concerned a lot of people, because school is obviously one of the biggest stresses on every family that has children. In the country, and once kids start skipping, you can't catch up again.
Yeah, well, we've been doing our best, certainly at our school, to facilitate anybody who needs to quarantine, for instance, excusing as many grades as possible, keeping them updated, constant emails. We got really good at that via Zoom, even better than we had been before, about just a constant stream of communication and updates and things. The rule is to be forgiving if a kid gets behind, keeping up as much as possible. So keeping one's priorities straight, the safety of the families is always paramount.
How does that work? Because I know that in the UK last year, there was a big controversy because they couldn't have exams, they couldn't sit exams. And so they asked the teachers to guess what grade their children would have got as the official.
Didn't tell us to do that.
That was actually the official thing. And it was such a nightmare. It worked out so, I mean, I think I've got that right. But that's how it sounded to me when I read about it in the news. And now they're going to a kind of continuous assessment thing. But it was a total mess. And the teachers were furious. The students obviously lost out because some of them weren't admitted to university when they could have had a shot if they'd taken an exam, but they didn't get to take an exam.
Right.
It was all crazy. How do you test people in this time? Because you still need results.
Yeah. So the charter school that I worked for, I mean, we pretty much kept once we transferred to Zoom. We really didn't change all that much. For instance, the way that I tested, the way that I went through assessments, the way that I entered grades, I didn't change the materials. I didn't really change the standards. A lot of it was just being more forgiving about makeup work, the time that's allotted to do that, and things like that. So the same number of test grades, exam grades went in. The kids still passed the state exams, the SATs. So I taught, seniors, the kids in 12th grade moving on to college the next year. And they all moved on to college.
That's
Some
great.
told me about it. They're a little bummed out, a few of them, that they have to do college from home now.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of college kids in the club, as you probably heard or seen. And they're having to deal with the most boring freshman year they could possibly have.
So yeah, my school has really been a good success.
That's really great. And there's a slight disconnect here, but while I think that is a success story, which I love, I'm concerned something. I guess it's medical. Something happens because once they go to college, then it becomes a problem. It becomes there's a lot of events, spreading events, and super spreading events at the colleges. And you'd think that would be reflected in the high schools around the country, but it seems not to be. So that's kind of an interesting disconnect. How come it's becoming a thing at college and not a thing at school? The same kids, they just got a bit older.
What I would expect is, at least at my school, we have a lot of discipline and we have a lot of control over the contact that the students have with each other. And it's pretty well regulated and well timed. And so they don't have a whole lot of opportunities to have a lot of contact where they would be spreading this thing during the school day, for sure.
Right.
Now,
So that's
have
interesting.
a college or a university where you have dorm situations, they're living together, they're spending all of their free time with each other outside of school hours. That's a lot of things happening with no actual control that the college really has over it, what I would expect. So I think that the capacity for regulation just goes way down.
I think that's the correct answer. I think you've actually answered my question exactly. It's, my goodness, when I went to university, I was not ready for alcohol. I mean, I'd had it, but but not on the level and the volume that I was sort of peer pressured to consume it when I first got to college. My God, I drank like a sailor, That's a crazy. I'm really glad that that's such a positive thing. Because you were, I think, if I remember correctly, relatively nervous about what was going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, so many things have been up in the air. So it's very hard to make predictions about too many things at this point. So I've been very pleasantly surprised. My school's generally very well prepared. So yeah, it's been very good so far. And it's nice from a social perspective. I didn't really realize how much I miss my coworkers and seeing them, how much I miss sort of seeing the kids and talking to them, having normal conversations. So it's been very nice. And I think it's been really good for the kids. A lot of them miss that social, that's important, especially when you're young and you're sort of developing those social skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see a shift? I mean, has COVID changed? In a weird way, you're a really good microcosmic slice of society. You're seeing, at least from a child's point of view, but all the associated hangers-on, like parents, obligatory adults in their lives, and the teachers. Have you seen a shift in attitude, a shift in the vibe of the social scene, the world, reflected through that really quite a strong poll of several hundred people?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to sort of sort that out myself as I've been observing sort of the way that the socialization's been happening. Especially with the younger kids. So my 8th graders, they're around 13 years old.
Yeah.
The awareness of any kind of social distancing or anything like that, I mean, they're exactly the same as they were before.
Yeah.
The reminders of like, stay away from that kid. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just sort of bouncing balls of chaos.
Yeah.
But as far as any sort of, caution towards one another, there's absolutely none. Kind of terrifyingly little. But then amongst, the older kids, the ones who are about to graduate, maybe it's this group of kids, the personalities that I have this year are more sort of, they're quiet, they don't know each other so well. So it's hard to exactly gauge based off of last year seniors who were just more rambunctious and knew each other. but there is a sort of distance and a kind of quietude there that I don't know. I hadn't observed that group of people too closely last year, so I'm not sure if it's personalities or the new social situation. I was kind of shocked. I'm one of the relatively few people who wear masks. I was a little surprised at how few people wound up doing that.
Wow.
That was a little bit shocking, but.
Yeah, you'd think teachers more than anybody would be hyper aware because of the very nature of their job, their responsibility of looking after, protecting a bunch of people that's what they do, as well as educating them. I mean, their first responsibility is to keep them safe. Lovely, Anne. Thank you so much. Thanks for filling us in and keeping. And I'm really pleasantly surprised about how well things have gone. Just to quote you, I think it's just wonderful, and I hope it continues and we can get through a whole swathe of people back at school. That'd be really cool. And the teachers seem to be fine, even the ones who don't wear masks, which is a bit weird. But hey, thanks, Anne.
Absolutely. Thanks. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thanks, Anne. All right, our last guest tonight is Nicole.
Great, thanks.
And someone's next to you, but we don't know who they are, which is tantalizing because we can see their shoulder.
This is Jevin. He's my son.
Hi.
He's one of the reasons I got back into Star Trek recently. We got 9 together this year.
Fantastic. And you guys like Deep Space Nine?
Yeah, I pretty much live it right now. It's I write it, I watch it, talk about it. It's on Facebook.
Do you know we have a whole fan fiction subculture in the club? We've got some.
I've talked to some of the other authors.
Okay, as long as you've been, I'm just making sure you get introduced if you haven't been. So that's great. How are you all? How's school, by the way?
It's been kind of crazy. This week is conferences, so we've got some 11-hour days coming up, and just lots of. I'm all access, so I teach students in the classroom and on the computer at the same time, and.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
Very busy.
Which state are you in?
Missouri. So lots of germs.
Lots happening. It's a very vibrant part of the world right now.
That's what the map looked like. Yeah.
And what? Tell me your son's name again, Mister.
Oh, Jevin. Jhevin.
Oh, Jevin.
Hi.
Are you at school?
Yeah.
How is that? Because you're just winding up for the quarter, as I've just heard.
Yeah.
How has it been?
Okay.
You've been happy, been like relaxed there, or is it sort of something weird about it this year? I mean, obviously COVID is a thing, and that's going to be weird anyway. But you still feel close to your friends, and I mean, in a way that you still feel okay, like you still feel like a kid, and they're going to have fun and do all the things that kids are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Is he being nice and saying that? But really, it's tough.
He's being polite.
Yeah, it's tough being a kid when you can't have so much fun as you'd like to have, and that he's usually tearing around with friends in a neighborhood, and screaming at the top of your lungs, and pretending to be stuff, and having just genuine fun. Why do you think that is that happening to you, or do you feel that you're not having that fun?
Oh yeah, it's happening. Yeah.
It is? Okay. Well, you're good. Yeah, that I'll take your word for it. I'm really glad. And Mom, how you are working obviously in class and at a class, and these youngsters, your son's one of them. Are you working with this age group, or are you working a higher up? Older?
Just a little higher. I'm 7th grade, so 12 and 13-year-olds.
So, you like, as Anne just said, it's pretty difficult to hold on to stop kids from being themselves and tearing around and spitting in each other's faces all day on some level. How do you do that? How do you approach this?
Well, it hasn't been as bad as I expected. A lot of the kids are really good about maintaining distances and wearing their masks. But
but they're also really reflective of their parents too. So
Yeah.
whatever their parents say, they're parroting back in class. And because we're hitting that point where it's been going on for so long now, everyone's just tired of it. A lot of them have started removing their masks. So they'll step out of the classroom and pull their mask down. They'll get in the classroom and talk to a friend and pull their mask down.
Yeah.
And of course, in the past week or two, we've had just tons of quarantine. I have 130 kids on my team, and I think over 20 of them are in quarantine right now.
Wow. And that goes against what I was just saying a few minutes ago, where kids don't seem to be transmittable.
Well, not all of them have it, but but there's been so many exposures that they take them out of school just to make sure they don't spread the germs in case.
I see. So what do you teach, by the way? What's your interest?
Well, I grew up totally in earth science, but I teach life science, so a lot of biology and evolution and.
Wow. And that's and how do you approach that with youngsters? Where do you start? How do you get kids excited about this stuff?
Well, a lot of it helps that I just love science. So when they see another person who's excited about it, they get excited too.
Yeah, I agree.
I pull out like my favorite music videos with like dorky science songs. Since I do a lot of drawing, I bring out my drawings, like my diagrams and stuff, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you drew that!" And so when they see me get excited with drawing things and playing the music, and I put up posters, and I bring in class pets, so just bringing in all kinds of stuff that they love.
Yeah,
excited too.
And that's you're encompassing. It's a general science, isn't it? So you've got like biological elements, chemistry elements, and physics elements all in the same pot. You're mixing because they're not going to be able to specialize yet.
Well, it's mostly life science. It's mostly biology,
right.
But it's still a huge thing though, because you go from cells to fungi, protists, bacteria, disease, animals, plants, evolution, ecology. We have to put it all in 7th grade.
Wow. I mean, I'm a big fan. The thing I really regret about my education, apart from the fact that I didn't really pay attention in science or math, which has set me back, to be honest. I mean, because I now have to go out of my way to read it and try and understand it, and I can't quite get to grips with it because some of the language is very technical and complicated, and that is confounding. I'm upset by that because I have such a good access to everything else, especially in terms of literature, etc., etc. But to find something in my language that I don't understand is very well. But the thing that I really didn't and one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy science, particularly at school, was it was very interdisciplinary. It was very specialized. You only knew biology, or you only knew chemistry, or you only did physics, and the world doesn't work that way. You have to learn all three and learn them pretty well to understand what's going on, and learn a bit about art and poetry. You know, it's if we don't mix it all up and make sure it's all precious part of the thing, you can't really. I mean, I think people are beginning to understand that. He says patronizingly, but I think people, even the science community, is beginning to understand, because for decades they've been like, well, no, I just do this field, and we don't talk to those guys. But now you have to talk to everybody. Is that sort of push happening at school level as well?
Oh, definitely. I teach a lot of like language, like Latin and stuff for the word roots, and we have to explain like how you communicate in science. So there's a lot of ELA type elements to it. And then when we can, we try to do interdisciplinary units we used to teach ancient Egypt in history. So I would try to teach some of their stuff in science too, with the papyrus and things. And
yeah.
So we try to tie that all together, because in real life it is really all together.
It is. I mean, and you're a kind of paragon of it in a sense, because you are a scientist first and foremost, and that is your gift to teach children. But you employ art as a tool to actually explain yourself, because your language, as you say, is probably too complicated for a lot of people under 13 or 15 even to understand the Latin derivation and the mathematical stuff, which also comes into science. But pictures like Friedman did back in the day in the 70s and 80s, drew pictures and everyone understood, entanglement theory because he just drew a little picture. It was like, wow, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's really cool. So you basically were secluded from March, the early March to the end of July or the beginning of August.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that? Because now you look back on it, is it a haze? Was it all kind of difficult? Because I know that some moms, particularly in the club, and there are moms who are teachers too, kind of hit quite hard by all that, and it's sort of very difficult.
It wasn't so much a haze though. Like we definitely have some good stories, and we pulled out some canvases and did some painting. And
oh, that's great. That's great. Do you all paint?
Kind of a little, just for fun. That's
plenty. It's not like it's like it's an absolute. You either do or you don't. You kind of can't slightly.
Well, I guess I'm just so serious about all of my sketching and computer graphic stuff that painting just feels like something we do just to pass the time, I guess.
Unwind and have fun.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. And I love your boy. I haven't, your sister's asleep, but you seem like a terrific young chap, mister. It's a real pleasure to meet you. You're very polite, by the way. You can be absolutely honest if you want to sometimes.
Thank you.
Right, sir. Yes, sir. What do you think? Can I ask you? Do you like Deep Space Nine? You seem a little young.
Yeah, I love Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
And what's your favorite part? What's your favorite thing? You don't have to say because no one remembers all the characters' names or anything. But what's your kind of what part do you enjoy about it?
Well, I like how I like the infirmary. It's really a great place.
I think he said his favorite character was Miles.
Oh, I love Miles.
He really enjoys the Ferengi episodes.
Yeah, they're great.
He's hiding his face now because he's really.
Because we just heard an actual fact. And he's been so opaque up until now. Well, it's lovely to meet you, half your family. And thank you for telling us a bit about what's going on. You're always welcome back, as always. Please come back and fill us in if you've got anything you'd like to say or tell us about, or kids want to say something. They're always welcome.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot to share. I can always bring my my hairless guinea pig.
I'd love to see that, and also some of your sketches, because we're starting. For me, Science 101 is pretty great, so I wouldn't mind hearing a bit about how you begin.
Well, thank you for everything.
Thank you too, Nicole, and thank you,
Jevin.
Back there.
I'm just going to throw the spotlight on Crow.
Crow! Wow! You look so spooky.
Why are you doing this?
You look amazing.
How could I not? Look at you.
You look fantastic. You look really colorful.
Thank you.
Really lovely.
Oh, I've got to brush my fangs again.
Floss. You got to floss.
So Nicole was our last guest for tonight, but before we go, I wanted to have everybody do a little group thing with me, if you would. You heard Sid talking about Andy a little bit earlier, Andy Robinson, having a rough time. And we've got Elmi is putting together a video, sending him good wishes. So we're going to do a group one. 1, 2, 3.
We love you,
Andy.
Andy.
We love you, Andy.
Andy.
Love you, Andy.
We love you, Andy.
That's great.
Well, lots of love to everybody, and see you Friday.